Hey there, ladies. I am wanting to talk to everybody today a little bit more about kind of this urgency in menopause to want to change our bodies and to feel a little bit more crazy and a little more urgent and a little bit more frustrated with how our weight loss is going. And I talked yesterday about just kind of this wake up call that we get during our menopausal years and how it's, I think, a beautiful sign that we do need to change our lifestyle a little bit to create a life that we want. So for those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Kelly Keelan, and I coach menopausal women to lose the weight that they want and to have the body that they want and to have the life that they want, and to show them that their next years, their years of menopause and beyond, or perimenopause too, can be the best years of their life. So in today's video, and by the way, I am in Mexico right now and I'm vacationing, and yesterday I talked a bit about kind of our mindset and mentality around vacationing and how a lot of times it can sabotage our efforts, our results, the way we look at vacations. And so please tune into that video that I did yesterday to hear a little bit more about vacationing. But what I want to talk about today is basically we think a lot of times if we've been doing this if we've been emotionally eating for decades and decades, we are probably using food as our Xanax. And we have probably been doing this without really even knowing or being mindful that we are doing this. So if you've been yo-yo dieting for decades, if you've been using food to soothe you, to numb out, then it's probably really, really catching up with you by now once you are kind of in this perimenopausal to menopausal age. And I know that is what happened to me, and that's why I'm so passionate about this, and that's why I wanted to share this video with you. So it kind of, and let me know if you can relate to this scenario. We have, for many of us, we have been doing this emotional eating since we were teenagers. And what would happen, and without us even realizing it, is that we would start to eat to numb us, to calm us down, to kind of be our joy, kind of be our fun. And we would do this for a while, and we would notice that we would gain weight. And then we would start to deprive ourselves, we would start to diet, we would start to restrict our food, and we would easily lose weight. But it would only work for so long. The restriction would eventually, since we were kind of white knuckling it, the restriction would eventually catch up with us, and we would gain weight. And then we would go back to the diet, go back to the restriction, lose the weight, and then the cycle would just keep going and going and going. And that worked for us for several years, even several decades, because of our metabolism, because of the way our hormones were. It worked for us. And so we didn't really have this urgency to change anything. It might have been kind of a miserable existence to kind of go through that cycle, but it wasn't so painful that we really felt like we had to do anything about it. So how many of you can relate to this? I know I was in this for years and years and years, and this cycle, and I didn't even realize what was going on. So when we hit menopause, ladies, our bodies are screaming at us because what used to work, this cycle that I just talked about, is no longer working. And that is why I think that menopause is such a beautiful time, because it is forcing us to look into this issue of using food as a crutch, using food as our, quote, Xanax, as I like to call it. So our bodies are just not going to put up with it any longer. and our bodies are pretty much saying, like I said, screaming at us, and we aren't going to put up with this bullshit any longer. You're going to have to figure out a different way to manage your life, and one that is going to be way better. And that is what I help women with, by the way. If you are resonating with this, please let me know. Yeah, give me a thumbs up, because there's so many women out there that are so frustrated, and they feel kind of like in these menopausal years that there's just like this urgency to change, and they're feeling very restless and very fed up and very frustrated. There is a reason why you are feeling this way now in menopause, and you didn't feel this way maybe in your early 30s. There is a reason. This is a sign, ladies, that this is an awakening for us in our lives to completely change things. And like I said, I'm very passionate about this. This is what I do. I will help you, ladies. If you feel like you can relate to this, please sign up, message me, go to my website at kellykeelan.com, sign up for a free consult. And I want to help you get over this for good, to get over this diet mentality, to get over this cycle for good. It's possible. It is possible. I promise. So this kind of brings me to the next thing I wanted to talk about, and that is we have been so used to, for so many years, using food as our joy, as our Xanax, and we don't even know what it's like to not have to use food for joy, and not have to use food to buffer or to calm us or to medicate us. And so it's very, very, it takes a lot of mindful practice. And that's one thing that I help women with, and the mindfulness. And that is the first step in getting over this, is not counting calories, and it's not macros, and it's not a meal plan. I promise you, ladies, if that was the answer, none of you would be joining my Facebook group. None of you would be tuning into me, because you would be already living your perfect life within your comfortable body, because food plans are a dime a dozen. Counting macros, it's a dime a dozen. It doesn't work, because it doesn't address this issue that we're still using food as Xanax. I can recommend the best meal plan, the best meal plan on earth. I can give it to you. I can recommend it to you. I can show it to you, and I promise it's not going to do any good. And we need to get out of that. We need to get out of that thought that that's the answer, because like I said, if that was the answer, none of you would be tuning into me right now. You would be off, enjoying the best life that you could in a body that you were completely comfortable in. So that is another thing that I really like to reiterate to my clients that I work with, to the wonderful ladies that I work with, is that the food plan is not the answer, and counting calories is not the answer, and the macros are not the answer. They do have their time and place, and I can make recommendations as far as what is going to give you the best result, hormonally, what's going to happen in your body if you eat this versus this. Hi, Tammy. Hey, how important is high intensity exercise? That is a great question. Here's what I want to say about exercise. Exercise, if any of you women out there are using exercise for aesthetic purposes, to really try to change your aesthetics, you're probably going to get really frustrated, and you're probably not going to get the results that you want. I think exercise is a wonderful tool, and it has its time and place, but it's not going to be a big influence in the way that you look aesthetically. It is going to do a few things. Here's what exercise will do. It will make your mind feel great. It will, for me anyway, it's a great clarity. It kind of clears your mind. It sets you up for the day. It is wonderful for that purpose. It's also wonderful for purposes like maintaining muscle mass, because that's really important at this time in our lives as we get older, is to maintain that muscle mass, just to keep us strong and healthy and flexible for longevity purposes. But for aesthetic purposes, it's not probably going to get you where you want to go. So great question with exercise. And that's also another thing that I, when I'm working with my clients, is that we do definitely incorporate exercise and movement into kind of the plan that I lay out for you. But once again, it's not going to be the forefront. It's not going to be the focus, especially if you want to change the way your body looks. So great question. Please let me know if you have more. So anyway, like I said, this being mindful is the main thing, not the food plans, not the macros, not counting the calories. Yeah, Tammy. It's like I said, exercise is really important and it has its time and place. It's just that I think for a lot of us, we're using exercise to change our bodies aesthetically, and that's why we end up really frustrated, because it's not going to do a whole lot for you aesthetically. I think that the main thing to work on, like I said, is this mindfulness, because if you are using food as a Xanax, if you are using food as your fun, if you're using food as your joy, it doesn't matter if you're eating keto, it doesn't matter if you're vegan, it doesn't matter what your food plan is, what your calories are, what your macros are, you are still going to, you're still going to end up using food as your Xanax. So it doesn't really matter what you're eating. So I think that is one reason why so many women tell me, well, their biggest problem is that they keep sabotaging themselves. They don't know why. They'll lose some weight. They'll be happy about it. Yay, they're losing the weight. And then something will happen. They don't know. There is definitely a reason for it, but they don't know. They will sabotage themselves and end up gaining all of the weight back. And they can't figure out why they keep doing that. And the reason that they keep doing that, and this is something that I will help you work through and I can show you, is because you are white knuckling it. You are white knuckling it for a few weeks and during your weight loss period, but you can only white knuckle for so long. Your willpower will only last for so long, and then you will end up your body, you just can't take it anymore, and you just have to start eating again. And that is the vicious cycle that we get in. And like I said, in our 20s and early 30s, that worked. And now our bodies are screaming at us in menopause saying, nope, we are not going to take this any longer. You need to do something different. So like I said, that is where I come in. That's where I can help you. And one thing, like I said, I think I was saying this earlier, is that being mindful is the first step. And one thing that I recommend for everybody as a starting point, I don't even really look much at calories or food you're eating, because that's not really the main thing, is to start journaling and to start really paying attention to your hunger and your fullness and your thoughts around eating. Ladies, you would be amazed at what your thoughts are around eating that are hurting you and you don't even know you're thinking about it. So here is a little example of the things that women tell me when they pay attention to their thoughts around food. So I even made a little list here of some of the comments that I get from my clients when we start paying attention to their thoughts around food. First of all, women tell me, because I asked them to maybe jot down some of what their mind is thinking while they are having meal times or before meal times or when they're wanting to emotional eat, is one of the first things is the thought that goes in their head is, well, I'm just eating because it tastes good. I'm just eating because I love food. And if that is the little thought that you're thinking every single time before you eat, even if you're eating not for true physical hunger, if you've been doing that for years and years and years, every single time you think that you're putting food in your mouth, that right there, even though it's very simple, that is one thing that's sabotaging you. And so that's one thing I can really help you with. The other thing too is, well, I was just eating because it was 12 o'clock. or I was just eating because the food was in front of me, or I was just eating because this is my last opportunity to eat for the next 5 or 6 hours. And these are all very innocent thoughts, but if you've been thinking this every single time before you sit down to eat, instead of paying attention to physical hunger, well, no wonder you have a weight problem. It's you know, those thoughts right there are what's keeping you stuck. It's not the calories and it's not the macros so much as those little things right there. So paying attention to those things is the first step. And I'll tell you an example, and I still have to be mindful of this myself, because I struggled with this kind of stuff for decades. And so it has become very, very easy for me to do this now, but I still have to pay attention to my thoughts. And like I said, I am on vacation right now. I'm in Mexico at a resort. And of course, there's just endless food when you go to places like this. There is buffets and it's all day long, as much food laid out in front of you as possible. And so I am really, really being mindful of my thoughts. And one of the things that my mind started to talk about, or to go through my head this morning when I woke up, was, well, it's breakfast time and the breakfast buffet is all laid out. And so I better get it all in now before they put the breakfast buffet away. And I caught myself and I realized, I really wasn't even hungry. I wasn't even hungry this morning when I woke up, but I was going to start eating because I thought, well, it's vacation, it's the breakfast buffet. I better get it all in now before they put the breakfast stuff away. And I caught myself. And you know what I did is I ended up just having some coffee. And I thought, you know what? There's food laid out here all day long. If I get hungry in a few hours, there is going to be amazing food available to me if I want to go ahead and eat then. And so I didn't eat when the breakfast buffet was out, just because it was breakfast. How many of you ladies out there eat because a number that the clock says, or maybe you're eating because your spouse is eating? That was another thing that was going through my mind too, is that, well, my spouse is eating. So if my spouse is eating, then I have to eat too. Otherwise, that's just weird, or that's being disrespectful to my spouse if I just sit there and not eat. That is a bunch of BS, ladies. Those kinds of thoughts are a bunch of BS. And those are the thoughts that are causing you to carry around the extra weight. I promise you, this is a way more important thing to get a handle on, to get a grip on, than counting calories, counting macros, going keto, whatever, going vegan, whatever it is. This is the core work right here. And it's kind of challenging, and it can kind of make you squirm a little bit, because you've been for decades eating because of those thoughts that I was just mentioning. So the other thing too, like I was saying earlier, is we're using food as our joy in life. We're using food as our Xanax in life. And we think that is all there is for our joy and for our fun. Now, this is coming from somebody who's lived life both ways. I've lived life for decades in this, well, food is my only joy. So food is the only way that it's going to calm me down. And so it's worth it just to eat, Now, being on the other side of things, and I do not use food anymore for my joy, and I do not use food as a crutch, as a Xanax, whatever you want to call it. Now I'm living life the other way, and trust me, it's so much better, and there's so much joy in life that you don't even know about because you aren't addressing it. So what's way more fun for me on vacations now, instead of food, like it used to be, food on vacation was my joy. Food was the highlight of the vacation. What's way more fun now is to enjoy the scenery and to put on a bathing suit, to put on a bikini and walk around confident in my body and not having to hide under a towel the whole time because I'm so bloated and I just stuffed myself. That is way more joy. That is way more in alignment with who I am, with the life that I want to live. And honestly, thanks to menopause, that's what gave me this wonderful wake-up call that I needed to change things. So ladies, please get a hold of me if this is resonating with you. If you want to address this, this is the time to do it. This is why your body is screaming at you. This is why your body's pissed at you, is because it's a wake-up call. And so you can definitely try practicing these principles that I'm giving you in these videos, and the mindfulness and the journaling. But most women aren't going to get where they want until they have a coach working with them to be there on a day-to-day basis, to guide them, to show them which direction to go in, to help them troubleshoot when they're getting into some problem areas. That's the biggest piece, is just really having a coach with you step by step of the way. So I'm trying to think if there was some other things that I was going to mention. I wrote down some of these quotes from some of the clients that I'm working with. Yeah, the other thing too is, ladies, when you work with me, when you work with a coach, when you address these kind of emotional eating that you're doing, you will lose the weight for good. And let's say it takes a little bit longer. Let's say it's not a crash diet like you've been used to for decades and decades. Who cares? What is the freaking urgency? Really? When you can get down this emotional eating, get it out of your life for good, forever, that is where the happiness and the freedom lies, ladies. So who cares if it takes a little bit longer? It's worth it, because this is for the rest of your life. Just imagine what it would be like to live the rest of your life free from dieting, free from the stronghold of food. It's incredible. So I think that's all I had for today. I just felt really inspired to share with you my thoughts on how kind of how we are using food as a crutch. We're using food as our Xanax, and we aren't addressing that issue. And that's what our problem is. And so many women I talk to want the meal plans, and they want me to give them a keto plan or a macro plan, and it's just not going to work. It's just not going to do the trick. So once again, please reach out to me, message me, email me, go to my website, whatever is easiest for you. I would love to have a chat with you for free. I will kind of point you in that you can tell me what's going on. I'll point you in the right direction. And if you feel like it's a good fit for us to work together, we can work together. And it's not going to be a pressured call. It's not going to be a salesy type call. It's just going to be a call for us to chat, super laid back, and I will kind of let you know what my recommendations are for you. So tomorrow, I think what I really want to share, and this video is getting kind of long, I'm sorry about that. So tomorrow I want to share with you exactly what I do, the whole step-by-step process that I go through when I'm being mindful around food, because like I said, I still work on it too. I think it's something that we can practice for the rest of our lives. One of the things that when I travel with is, here's my little pocket journal right here, and I will show you everything that I put in this pocket journal and how I use this to really clear my mind, to be mindful about what's going on. I'll share with you some of kind of the foods that I eat while I'm here, just to really make sure I'm feeling my best, and some of the travel tips and stuff. And I also had a few questions from ladies too about, yesterday I was talking about the hunger scale, the physical hunger scale, the emotional hunger scale, and how, and I didn't really go into how I use that. So that's another thing that I will touch on tomorrow, and I'll just give you kind of a step-by-step kind of timeline or process that I go through when I travel to make sure that I'm feeling my best and looking my best and having the best life that you can have. So let me know if there's any more questions from you. And if not, thank you for listening, and stay tuned. Tomorrow I will be back. So, all right, ladies, we'll talk to you later.